Hello again. I'm Catherine, and this is part 16 of the American Withdrawn. Still on Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye. I finished through her marrying and having children, and then starting to talk in more detail about mass ritual, and then a kind of strange shift from Piccola as the main narrative perspective. I read this with The Lord of the Flies, the Beastie, the first Beastie chapter, and also again The Sound and the Fury. I also watched some of an interview with Toni Morrison on jazz, and I think when you first start, there's a few interesting questions for me about her marrying and her experiences of sexuality. There's no defining moment, I think, in the book of Piccola sort of transitioning from something to something else, because she's very accepting of the essential force that her reproductive system is treated with. I noticed that right away, that she doesn't even, question that, or after listening to Rabindranath Tagore, who I think is elaborating something about the Bible, about Moses telling the people of Israel that if they do certain things in the desert, there might be some peace there, but it won't be quite a few things. And so I noticed that right away about Piccola's sexual experience, that she experiences the most peace that she can, but she's essentially stopped praying in some way. There's no lamenting anymore. She doesn't ask for more. She doesn't grieve for anything. She's essentially stopped many things. I don't know why I find that her ultimate psychology of not, because she makes mention that she understands it as too harsh to her, she knows she's being treated very harshly, but there's no defining moment of a transition from having been raised with more beneficence into something that's a lot more brutally hedonistic. There's no. I found that curious. So anyway, I'm interested in finishing the book. I don't know. I think that all of those authors become really reader focused on whether or not people are vocabularized or know a lot or are able to articulate a lot. So I think so much of it is reader focused on the sense of whether or not people are aware that they can say something simply, that I think a lot is lost in plot and actual storytelling. But I'm interested in finishing the book to see what happens to Piccola, to see if her situation changes, or I'm curious about that. But otherwise, I think linking it to the other novels, I think you really get that sense of when they're being lectured by Ralph in The Lord of the Flies in the Beastie chapter about having no longer followed the rules, and The Lord of the Flies is advertised as an experiment in what would people be like if there was a return to a beginning of time. Could we find a reason or a cause for why things are the way they are, and all the little ones and all the children have stopped doing what they're supposed to. They don't go to the bathroom where they're supposed to. They just go to the bathroom wherever they feel like, and there's become a mutiny. The supremacy of the hunt has sort of started this uprise against Piggy and Ralph, who have provided a sense of worry and intelligence for a need for a lot of confidence. So I think you can see that type of stratification in what Toni Morrison is writing. I think she's trying to write about a Hinduism almost, like a stratification of society where people exhibit certain types of spiritualism, and so that sort of essential chaos about why we live how we do. Why does it make sense that so many people alter from many habit choices. That's always surprised me about meeting women in homeless situations, that there's almost a sense of pride surrounding habits and things that are really condescending to people in general. So you definitely see that about Toni Morrison, is wanting to talk about them as having a lifestyle that is their family lifestyle. So perhaps that is why there isn't any defining moment of her questioning her experience or attempting to see out of it. But otherwise, I think the Sound and the Fury is such a fun thing to bring into daily life. If you think about the ball floating in the water, and then you're on the bus and you get that kind of roller coaster feel about the bus. So I think in Toni Morrison, I think a lot of what she is doing is just trying to enhance life experience for the reader. And so when you really get her starting to talk about desserts and that as homo experience of bad behavior always on offer, and Friedrich Nietzsche's thoughts on the German diet and what a pastry is, and whether or not people understand the size of the stomach. I think there's a lot in The Bluest Star that does enhance our sensorial capacities. Yeah.